What's up, everybody? It's One Nation, brought to you by Tony Bett, Andy Petrillo, Jordan Wilson. Yes, that is Diana Matheson joining us here on the show today for the full 30. How excited are we to have you on board here? How excited are you to talk NSL?
I'm excited. We got lots of time to chat. I feel like I have to give such snappy 20-second answers this day, so I'm looking forward to it.
We need you to chill.
In.
Yeah, chill, rant, stand on your soapbox. We need it all. But I do wonder, because I've said this, and I think a lot of people also just know this. Hey, starting a league is hard. So did you ever have a moment where you're like, I want to go back to being a pundit. I want to go back and join TV because I don't like this anymore.
That's a great question. I do enjoy it. I did enjoy it. I feel like the part I like, though, is being at the desk with some other folks.
Yeah.
Team athlete at heart. So working with you, working with some other folks was always enjoyable. Good
we
banter,
miss you.
Especially off air.
Yes, we did have some good banter. So we miss you, but we're happy to have you back. And so much has been going on, obviously. I mean, now that I see you for the first time face-to-face, congratulations on the Northern Super League and that officially being announced. It is. It's massive. And I want to go back to the beginning, though. I really want to go back to the beginning when this was a zygote, when this was like first an idea, where you're like, maybe this should happen. Like, what even motivated you to say, domestic league in Canada needs to happen?
Oh, gosh, it might be hard to say when the beginning was. I think like when we were still playing, certainly we all knew the Pro League was the thing that was missing, especially in probably the last 3-4 years of my career. The money was already going into pro leagues around the world a little bit, not the way it is now, but a little bit. And we knew, at some point Canada needs to get involved in that. We're not going to be able to compete. So I tried to, I feel like I was an okay athlete at trying to figure out what I wanted to do after playing. I had a few injuries towards the end of my career, so I had some time to think about it. So just tried to talk to a lot of people to figure out what was going on in the landscape. And back then it was very much, well, is it going to be NWSL in Canada, or do we do a league? Do we do both? And it was really Carmelina Moscato that I think first sat me down and talked me through, no, there's one answer here, and it's a professional league, and here are all the reasons. It looks like this. So I think it was Carm who really put down the roadmap first. And then it was, when I retired, I went back to school and just devoted all my time for 18 months talking to people, learning. And then it was kind of coming to the realization again that Carm had said that, no, the league is the answer for everything we're trying to solve for. And with the opportunities we had in the timing of the market and how quickly it was growing, the strengths in the Canadian market, like we had to do a league and we had to do it now.
So the idea is one thing, and that's commendable, but then the action that it takes to actually get it going. Who were like your first calls, or the people that you entrusted outside of Carm that were just like pushing this forward? And a timeline, right? Like you'd think a league might take 2, 3, 4 years to get up and running, but NSL has been moving pretty quickly. So who are the people that you kind of entrusted to be with you on this program?
Yeah, I think after I'd retired, I think again tried a few things, just knocked on doors, tried to see who was doing what, and again worked a lot with Carm, Eva Haveris, Leanne Nicole, who's been an incredible mentor of mine. She used to be with Big Brothers Big Sisters and with the Canadian Olympic Foundation. She's been a mentor forever for me and some other women's national team players. Spoke to them a lot about how we could get things going. And then really, I think when I'd met my business partner, Tom, in my MBA program at the Smith School. I thought I had a good picture of how the overall structure could look to try and get it started, where the catalyst for investment could come from. I pretty much went back to Leanne as a mentor and was like, should I do this thing? Like she used to be on the board of Canadian soccer. She knows the landscape. I'm like, can we do this? Am I being crazy? I just retired from sport, which we know involves being away from Canada, away from your families for years and years and years. I just moved home. My wife and I were actually getting to spend time together, and I'm like, I don't want to start this crazy project if it's not going to work, and it's because I know what it was going to take away from that piece that I finally had time for. But Leanne just said to go for it, so I just went for it.
Did it feel like a personal risk? Like, I know me also retiring, a big thing 2 years ago was just family, more time with my son. Whatever. Was that like something where you thought, okay, this is something that's needed? I thought it's been needed since I've been living, like a professional league for men, professional league for women, so much talent here. But for someone to go and start it, that's a huge sacrifice. Was that something that weighed on you a little bit to get this going?
Yeah, and I think that's the piece that I was thinking about the most when I spoke to Leanne, was how much it was gonna take away from, time with my wife and loved ones and the lift there. And we were going, we'd identified the route we wanted to go, which was very much the entrepreneur startup route, which was higher risk, but we felt higher reward if we could pull it off. And I don't know, I think I've been lucky to have a lot of smart women in sport, women in business in my life. A lot of that Olympic talk, if not you, then who, if not now, then when, and all those facts you learn in different leadership courses for women, that men go for things when they have 3 out of 10 qualities, and women only go when they have like 9 out of 10 qualities. There's all these things in my head that smart people have told us over the years that I'm like, well, might as well just go for it. And it's it's like when you first make the national team and you can perform at a really high level because you can be a bit free. You don't really have the years of experience or trauma or baggage or whatever, and you can kind of just let loose. And sometimes it gets harder to do that when you're a bit older and the weight's on your shoulders. And first league to build. I think the naivety helps a bit.
Yeah,
you can do anything once. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't plan to do this again, but you can do anything once.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know, and you
Exactly.
dive head first. But at the same time, the history of men's leagues not working out, women's leagues not working out in sport in general, obviously in the sphere of soccer, did you have nights where you said, I can't do this? Like, were you scared?
Good question. I think, I feel like ironically, same as I was just saying, I feel like the uncertainty I felt has only got weirdly more as we've become more certain we're happening next year.
Okay.
I don't know what that is. Probably just a little burnout from where we are in the process right now, more than anything. But I don't know. There's just been so many like flashing arrow signs that this is the time to do it, and we just have to keep up momentum and keep checking off the boxes to get things done for next year. And like the whole plan was to attract people to the project that bought what we were doing in terms of the vision and values, that were filling, I don't know what I don't know. We need to surround ourselves with smart people that believe in this thing, and we've been really lucky to be able to do that at the league and at clubs. We just keep going.
What's encouraged you to keep going and push through?
I think those things. I think the people we've attracted to the project, and we've been lucky to add people as we go. So especially at the league now, we're getting to hire more and more. I think we've got some leadership announcements in the next couple weeks, which is really exciting. And yeah, I mean, I learned so much from John Herdman, obviously, and one thing I thought he did better than anyone was surround himself with people smarter than him in the areas he needed to supplement. And it's been a real pleasure to bring in some really top-tier women in business, women in sport, and get to learn from them.
Looking forward to the leadership announcements. Are we going to be calling you the commish? Maybe. I don't know.
TBD.
We'll find out
Yeah.
what your title will be. But we know you're going to have 6 teams, so pretty exciting. You've targeted next year, April 2025. What about these ownership groups? Like vetting them, coming to you. What is it that encourages you about their leadership, starting these clubs, and why you feel like these are the right owners?
Yeah, and I think we've got a really strong group, to be honest. And I kind of just said it there. The thing we wanted, in addition to the dollars they would be bringing into the league, was that they understood the vision and the values of this thing and the potential. Gosh, we should have like a drinking game every time I mention John Herdman. But John Herdman,
So twice.
yes, too. Okay?
So we'd be a little
for
bit
our
tipsy.
listeners at home.
So for
Just a little
somebody
bit.
like me, I'll be under the table.
Depending what time it
After
is.
2 shots?
I'm light.
Water shots.
I
Drink
know.
water.
I'm bad. Anyways.
He used to tell us, don't put yourself in a performance cage. If you think you're not going to
it.
score from the top of the box, you're not going to take shots from the top of the box. And so much of what I'd seen in women's soccer the decade prior was people not thinking it was something, so they wouldn't market it, or they wouldn't invest it, or they wouldn't put it on TV, or they X, Y, Z. And then guess what? It isn't that thing. So I needed the people that believed in what this could be, and I think we have that. And I think we have a really collaborative group that's brought their own if not soccer expertise, we've got that in some buckets, but really strong business expertise in other buckets, and they're bringing all that expertise to the table. And it's a really, really collaborative group. That they know that their teams are going to be competing next year onwards, but they also know it's a global marketplace out there, and we have to compete against the other top leagues in the world, and they get that, and they get that working together is going to make that happen.
What would be your short-term goals for the league and long-term? And what I mean by that is, where do you see the league in 2 years, and where do you see it in 5? Is it a league built for Canadians? You want Canadian talent to come up and playing for the national team, or stars from other countries playing here? Like, is that where you see it in 5 years?
Isn't this like a job interview? Where do you see yourself in 5
big
years?
questions. We have you here live in the flesh. I gotta ask everything that I've been thinking.
Yes and yes.
Got it. Double yes.
I think the first 2 years is just to get as much investment and business structure and talent into the league as best we can in those first 2 years, understanding we're a new league, understanding there's a lot of uncertainty there for players, and there's this big global market. So as high as the bar can be in year 1 and 2, to then just have that foundation on which we can then build and grow every year. I thought the PWHL did an incredible job of that. That was just year 1. They get to build from there. And then in the long term, 10 years, like, we know it's a global market. We know women's pro soccer is very new. This is an opinion, not a fact, but I personally feel like women's pro soccer internationally is only like 5 years old. Real money in the NWSL.
Yeah.
TV deals have only gone in the last 5 years. The Women's Super League was still amateur in 2018. The BBC Sky Sports deal was 2020, 2021. Mexican Femenil started 2019. Spanish league about the same time. Like, it's pretty new, and we know we've got the third largest player pool in the world. We produce Christine Sinclair's. We have a sponsorship market that's now investing in women's sport, and we have a fan market. We have such a good fan market, and we don't see it when we're in Canada all the time. But I learned this a lot through the UEFA course I was in. Outside of any of the school stuff, was the attitudes towards women in football there and in the rest of the world are a decade behind what they are here, and that is such a strength for us here. And in the US, we support women in sport, and we show up, and fans have been following this team since 2012, like the diehard ones since 2002. So we have fans that are a decade old, and we have fans who have kids now who are following the team. So the market is such a huge strength for us. So all those things, we know we've got challenges too. We got to go towards those, but 5-year-old industry, it's going to keep growing over the next decade. We think we can be a top 3 to 5 league in the world over 10 years. So that's where we're all trying to go.
Okay.
Well, and even though you say 5 years and it's a little bit mind-blowing, although you're right, because obviously there's that rule of like 10 years. When you've done something, I think, for 10 years, then it really starts to make money and move forward. So it's also pretty incredible what women have been able to do in half that time around the globe. But it's also not an overnight thing. I mean, you're somebody who played for a long time. Like, the foundation was being laid. And I remember even going blue in the face on TV, to your point about putting yourself in a cage. Stop seeing women's sports as a risk and men's sports as an investment. And I feel once that mentality changed, now we're starting to see this tide. But it was a lot. How many times did you beat your head against the wall with that messaging when you were playing?
Yeah, I mean, it was hard when we were playing because there was zero data. There was zero. So everyone could say those things, and there was no way to really disprove it. And that's a big piece that shifted in the last 2 years. There was actually data where you could say, well, no, this is the return on investment for an owner in the NWSL that bought in at $150K in 2012, and now their franchise is valued at $66 million. Those are numbers. Here are viewership numbers. Here are sponsorship numbers, where we didn't have that 2 years ago. And now there's new data out like every 3 weeks now that's really helping too. But it's really annoying for updating the slide decks. But selling the thing.
The world changes quickly. Yeah, you got to update all the time. And speaking of that, so let's go to the numbers, because I think a lot of people who don't follow it obviously as closely as you do, and looking at the data and looking at those numbers, they right away go 1.5 million, like 50,000, base salary. How do you come up with those numbers, right? So how did you?
The foundation of those, I think, came out of the initial plan I'd pitched to all the owners, which had come out of a lot of the schoolwork I'd done. Every individual project I had in my UEFA Master for International Players, it was called, or my Executive MBA at the Smith School, all my individual work I did on the feasibility of women's professional soccer in Canada. So it involved just a lot of research. What are the salary caps or average salaries internationally? Of which there wasn't always the data, but I could chat to people. So figuring out what the rest of the world was doing, and then projections on what we thought the fan base, the audience was going to be, ticket sales, revenues on sponsorship. Those are, the two biggest drivers of revenue in our league, obviously. So just ballparking what those projections would be and what the investment we thought owners would put in over the initial years. So that drove the $1.5 million salary cap. $50K was kind of a stake in the ground for trying to build the best possible standards for our women's professional players from day one. $50K minimum salary is like in the top 10%. Honestly, I think we're probably the second or third highest minimum salary in the world, because a lot of the rest of the leagues in the world don't have minimum salaries. NWSL is above us. I think we're probably after that. And I think Japan, I want to say Spain, Australia, they're all in around 25K. So we're well above that to attract talent, and trying to say, this is a league built for women by women, so we need to make sure we've got the player at the heart of it.
I like that low-key flex, though, by the way. What programs did you take again?
Yeah, I know. That was unnecessary.
You're like, I took this.
Eyes rolling back, you're like, yeah, you wait for 8. I'm like, all right.
You're like, okay, so you're talking numbers, and we're just going to sit and nod our heads.
Can I ask you about the type of Canadian player you're trying to attract? Like, is it players that are... I mean, for me, going into the CPL the last 2 years, it wasn't really my plan to go and play for 2 years and then retire, but I just wanted to be home. I know that's a huge thing. I know that you played in Norway and a time as well where you can't really, or it's very difficult to play in North America, so you have to play abroad. And I definitely resonate with that in terms of having to leave. But now there's a league. Is it younger players you're trying to attract to go and play, or is it like the older, established players you want to come back and play in this league?
Yeah, and looking back, if this league had existed, I would have played in it most of my career. Like, I would have played in it out of school for sure, looking at where I went. So from end of 2008 until 2013, I would have played in this league. And then I probably would have went somewhere a couple years to try something out, and then I definitely would have come back.
Sorry to cut you off, but these new age don't really know the difficulties to try to go to Timbuktu and then play when you could easily have the niceness, the comfortable life of playing at home, still get your parents cooking. Anyways, I can go on for days about it, but go ahead.
So to answer your question, though, we're trying to attract the highest possible tier of women's pro player that we can for a salary cap of $1.5 million and a marquee player rule where one player can be paid whatever they want. So that's average salary is $70K Canadian. So we're competing internationally. We're $1 million, $1.5 million under the NWSL. Obviously, Women's Super League doesn't have a cap. We're very likely, I've said this a lot, we're not going to bring home Kadisha Buchanan and Jessie Fleming, the top 1% of player in the top clubs right now, or the top clubs competing for Women's Champions League titles. We're not going to bring them home from day one. And the biggest gap being, too, for players, just the unknown. There's no guarantee of, there's a lot of questions when we don't exist yet. But there's this really rich pool of players right under that 1%. Canadians, 150 of them on contracts abroad, a large women's national team player pool. We want to attract as many as we can home in that player pool, and then international players as well. We think Canada is a really attractive market to a lot of players internationally. 50K minimum is really strong. And there's a lot of research around the women's player, especially out of FIFA Pro. Women's players don't just sign on your compensation package alone. They look at the overall stability of the league. Is your contract guaranteed, which ours will be? Do you have benefits? Do you have maternity? And a lot of leagues aren't there yet on those things, so we're really going to try and compete there. And then absolutely pathway for Canadian talent, right?
Yeah.
And that's what excites me. Like, it could honestly be as early as year 1, if not year 2, 3, 4, where we've already got these kids coming through the league. We're like, who
Hidden
are you?
gems,
Who are you? Now crushing it at the pro level in Canada, and then right away on the national team. And I think those kids are going to come through more and more as we go.
And why not? But that's the other thing. Like, the NWSL really does cater, and especially in the beginning, to American players, right? The WSL, it's your England players, and in Spain, it's your Spanish players. I can go on, right? A lot of these domestic leagues exist because they are preparing these players for the national team. Why not? I don't care. I think selfish. We're going to be selfish.
I think the beauty about that too, Andy, is that you have young girls who are looking up and looking at players that are already playing pro. So it's the ecosystem that starts, right? It's not just, oh, this group that are teenagers or young women that are ready to play. It's the kids looking up to professionals, which is huge. And that in environments around the world, that's already in place. But in Canada, we have the talent. It's just about the system that's not in place. So it's very exciting. So quick question,
And
Diana.
I'll add to that too. The other strength for all the Canadians we're trying to get home, and yes, this is like Canadians will get treated better in Canada than abroad. And one side is the brand sponsorship and the ability of players to come back here, get sponsors, build their brand in a way, commercialize that, build roots in the country here that you just can't do abroad. Even if you're a top women's national team player and you're playing in Spain or Italy or England, you're not getting sponsorships. Like Italian companies aren't investing in Canadian players, you know what I mean? But as soon as they come home, I know.
But La Pasta
Get
is
on
not
them,
like,
Andy. Get on them.
I'll make a call.
and the other folks too, which we're absolutely attracting back, are like folks like me and Steph Labe. And we've joked about this a lot now, but it's true. Part of the reason we're doing this is just to have jobs in Canada. We don't want to leave again. We spent 17 years abroad, moved home, and it's like, wait, still nowhere to work?
Yeah,
and
but
it's
then
those people.
Football's in your blood, right? To do something, or soccer's in your blood, to do something that you've done your whole life, but like for the next generation, it's almost seamless. Or I guess the desire to do it is seamless.
Oh, that's too funny. We want jobs. Make a job for yourself.
Yeah.
Big question that we always ask, especially here in Canada. What about venues? Where are you going to play? Sometimes our municipal governments are not, as easy to say, here you go, here's some land, build this or have that. And then we also know weather and all that kind of stuff. What can you tell us as far as securing some venues?
Yeah. Weather. We haven't solved that one yet either. We're not going to tell all the international players about winter.
Yeah,
Don't think we will.
They don't need to
Canadian
know.
Tire's going to give them gloves. We're good. I talked about all the strengths we have in our market internationally. In terms of the weaknesses, infrastructure is right up there, and we're so far behind so much of the football world. We know this. You folks know this better than anyone. We mostly have something that's 3,000 seats or 30,000 seats, and they're probably not soccer specific, and they're probably turf. So looking at our league, learning from what the NWSL, what other leagues have done, which was in the past, most women's leagues said, oh, we're women's soccer, so we must be a family product. We must go to the suburbs.
Hey, we swear too, We drink and swear too. I just want people to know that. Sorry.
Yeah. But as soon as any club was in the suburbs or secondary venues, you cap out at 4,000 fans and you never grew. So the approach of our league has been try and be somewhere central. Don't cap yourself on potential, even if it's not the right size venue to begin with. So short term, go in existing, make it as good as possible. If it's too big, try and drive the experience, make it feel a bit smaller, do what you can on game day, and then medium long term view to try and invest in infrastructure. The Canadian Premier League has done such an incredible job, I think better than anyone in the history of Canadian soccer, in investing in soccer specific stadiums in this country. So we feel like we can try and follow in their footsteps and add to that, not in year 1, 2, but after that, and try and build more and more infrastructure in Canada.
I guess one benefit as well with you starting the league now when you are is that the CPL did start in 2019. The PWHL just started last year. What have you learned from those leagues that you've been able to apply to your practice here and getting this going?
Yeah, so many things. I don't think we could do what we're doing without both of those leagues having gone first. I think the Canadian Premier League there had been no sustainable men's domestic league in Canada before them, and they had to deal with that narrative coming in. They've disproved that. Imagine us trying to go first. Imagine women's pro soccer trying to be the first sustainable pro league for soccer in Canada. No chance. So they had to break ground for us to do what we're doing. Same with PWHL. And for them, it's both, like the statistics, like I said, are huge. And also they're in market doing a lot of things similarly around production, other things that we get to directly learn from. And they've been great in sharing learnings as they go. It's been fascinating too in the discourse with other people not in those two organizations who so quickly switched from women's hockey, women's soccer will never work. Here are the reasons why. And then as soon as they dropped the puck for PWHL and they did everything they're doing, those same people now say, well, of course women's pro hockey
That's
was
how it
always
works,
going to
right?
work.
Yeah.
Oh,
They
that's
knew
how-
that all along.
Women's
The
pro soccer will
naysayers?
never work.
Oh,
Yeah,
you get
it's-
converted quickly.
And I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, they knew it. They knew it all along. I need to I don't know about you, but I had a fangirl moment as well when I interviewed Billie Jean King, and obviously her being a part of PWHL. Of course, I saw she got some NSL swag. She's posting it. I mean, what does it feel like to know that Billie Jean King, who's a pioneer of fighting for equality with women in the sports industry, to just see her sporting some NSL gear?
Yeah, she's incredible, and her wife is too.
Yeah, Alana, yeah.
Like driving everything behind the scenes. They've been so fantastic, and the impact they've made in women's sport is obviously incredible, and in Canada specifically. Like she was at the draft again yesterday. Yeah, no, they're incredible.
Alana's more behind the scenes, which is really cute.
Yeah.
And then Billie Jean is just a firecracker.
Just let me know what I need to e-transfer you for a hoodie, because Andy had one, and it was
I got
really
hoodie.
nice.
I
But
posted about my
your
hoodie.
size probably won't fit me. That's a bit of a crop top for me. So I would love to get my own size, and also, put some money down to NSL.
We'll get you one. We'll get you one.
So you don't have to e-transfer me. I'm not selling them
Got it.
directly. I don't have them
From the
in
trunk of her
my
car.
I mean, I thought it was that.
Yeah.
Old school CDs.
That's just the people I know. Like,
You can go now to shop/nsl.ca.
this was the time. One more time.
shop/nsl.ca. Get
got
your
it.
hoodie, t-shirt,
So
hat.
not-
You want to sport a brand? You believe in this thing? Let's go buy some.
I
merch.
like it.
Thanks.
I do. I love it. Well, speaking of platforms and broadcast deals, obviously, congratulations on the announcement of that not that long ago. But you also are doing something very similar to the PWHL and kind of owning some of your own property as well and your own platform. Obviously, in this day and age of digital technology and streaming platforms, YouTube also being out there, like how important is it for you to be able to kind of have control over your own product and promote it as well?
Yeah, it's huge. And then the name of the game in women's sport is aggregate eyeballs. So as much as we can, it's a huge advantage to us to, control the level of production, make sure it looks as good as we need it to look. And that's been one of the problems in the past in women's sport as well. It didn't have the investment, so you would tune in and it would look like, a high school game, and that undermines the on-field quality. People assume it's this when it's this, so get that right. And then, own the platforms as much as you can and get all the eyeballs you can aggregated in one place, because the whole name of the game is get the audience as big as you can and then grow it over the next 3, 4, 5 years and look to really monetize that in the future.
Can we switch gears to the Olympics? Are you excited?
Okay.
Are you excited to to watch obviously this 2024 team? But where do you feel like they're gonna fall? Do you think they're on the podium this time around? Is that an expectation?
We're
of
going to
yours?
make you become a pundit again, so we're
Is
putting
that an
you back
expectation
in.
of
what's
yours? Because everyone asks
happening
me, and I would love to hear.
I am very excited for the Olympics,
Yep.
both for women's soccer and because my wife is also hosting for CBC.
Oh, yes,
and
she
I'm going to go
is.
visit her the last 5 days. I'm going to go over there and watch.
Nice.
I am a bit rusty as a pundit, but my official take is Canada, as you know, has a really good track record of winning medals after a really bad World Cup performance. So we are on track.
Dip in the Kool-Aid.
If history
Number 4.
repeats
Yeah,
itself.
sip of the
Let's
Kool-Aid.
go.
It's time.
Well, I still share with everybody because why not? It's an iconic moment. 2012, of course, you getting that goal in that bronze medal game that secured Canada's first medal at the Olympics in women's soccer. The 2012 team versus the 2024 team. Who do you think's gonna win?
Oh yeah, we were talking about this a bit before, right? Okay, I think like women's soccer is getting so much better year over year over year. Like the jump between women's World Cups and the performance we know is like. So I'm gonna say on paper the 2024 team technically. The intricacy of the systems, skill, all those things. 2024 is probably light years ahead of 2012. But 2012 just had that
Talk to
little
me.
bit
Talk to
of
me.
magic dust. We had a lot more baggage.
Heart,
I'll
grit,
say.
fire,
we've been
elbows.
through the fire.
Yeah.
Diamonds are made through pressure
yeah.
and all that. So, and we were tight. Like a lot of us, the program wasn't advanced. We spent a lot of time in residency, so we had a connection. So it would be a battle, I would say, that game. It would be entertaining. I'd
It'd be
pay for that.
gritty. What is it, like little blue collar versus white collar? Is that what we're
You know
saying
what?
now?
The
Canada
biggest
versus
games that
Canada.
happen, I don't want to title anyone, but old and young, when you do 77.
that was always-
That is always, so that's what I see. The 2012 and 2024, if it were to happen, if you had both of the teams in
There'd
the
be
prime.
some injuries. There'd be some
It's old and
injuries.
young, neck-high tackles.
There'd be some injuries and no stretchers on the field. The best of Canadian women's football.
That's what we like to
I
see.
love it.
Yeah.
It's a little, because that's what Canadians are known for. I mean, there might be a little sorry and then move on,
Yeah.
right? Because we do have to apologize. It's a little bit in our blood, but then we absolutely move on. Dan, it's been a pleasure having you in
Absolute
studio.
pleasure.
We are so stoked about this. I remember, again, when you were in our One Soccer studio talking about doing this, like we were so excited. And then just we two have been along on this ride and seeing it slowly come together. It's incredible. Congratulations. We cannot wait for next year. In the meantime, we'll continue to pick your brain, and we look forward to all the announcements that you make. That is Diana Matheson of the Northern Super League. How about that? Canada's own domestic league set to kick off in 2025. This has been an awesome edition of One Nation, brought to you by Tony Bet.